Welcome back. Spend enough time around a deer camp or sitting beside the wood stove in an old hunting cabin on a frosty November evening, and sooner or later someone will start singing the praises of the 243 Winchester. Truthfully, it's easy to understand why. This cartridge is incredibly pleasant to shoot. Recoil is minimal, letting you spend an entire day on the range without developing a flinch. It shoots remarkably flat, delivers outstanding mechanical accuracy, and has built a reputation as one of the most versatile hunting cartridges ever made. Hunters rely on it to flatten woodchucks at 400 yards, then load up for deer season and use the same rifle to anchor whitetails. The 243 Winchester is an outstanding cartridge, but it has very real limitations. They're the kind of limitations longtime fans often overlook and new shooters haven't experienced yet. That's the real 243 paradox, the conversation most people avoid until they're heading home with an unused tag. Let's take a closer look. To understand the 243 Winchester, we need to start with its history. For much of the first half of the 20th century, American shooters had almost no interest in 6mm cartridges. The selection was practically non-existent. If you wanted a bullet measuring 243 inches, your main option was the 6mm Lee Navy, chambered in the unusual Lee straight pull rifle. A few sporting rifles existed, but by 1935 that cartridge had essentially disappeared. Europe told a very different story. British gunmakers had been experimenting with 6mm cartridges decades earlier. During the 1920s, companies such as Holland and Purdy introduced cartridges like the 240 Flanged Nitro Express and the 246 Purdy. Between 1895 and the Roaring Twenties, Europe produced several 6mm designs while American manufacturers remained largely absent from the market. Everything changed in 1955. Winchester and Remington simultaneously introduced brand new 6mm cartridges to American hunters, setting the stage for one of the industry's biggest rivalries. The 243 Winchester versus the 244 Remington. Winchester kept things simple by necking down the new 308 Winchester case. Remington went another direction, building its cartridge from the classic 7x57 Mauser case, the same parent cartridge behind the famous 257 Roberts. On paper, Remington actually held the advantage. Its longer case offered more powder capacity and greater velocity potential. Meanwhile, the 243 was designed around a compact short-action platform, even though short-action sporting rifles were still relatively new at the time. Looking only at ballistic performance during the mid-1950s, the 244 Remington appeared to be the stronger cartridge. It was faster and carried more powder capacity. But Winchester understood something even more important than velocity: versatility. They chambered the 243 in their flagship Model 70 and also offered it in the Model 88 lever gun. Savage quickly joined in by chambering the Model 99. Winchester made sure shooters could find the cartridge almost everywhere. Remington made a critical mistake. They marketed the 244 strictly as a long-range varmint cartridge, loading it with 75 and 90 grain bullets. Even worse, they paired it with a slow 1 in 12 twist barrel. That twist stabilized lightweight varmint bullets well, but struggled with the heavier projectiles hunters wanted for deer. Right from the beginning, they limited their own cartridge. Winchester took the opposite approach. The 243 was promoted as a true dual-purpose hunting round. Hunters could load 80 grain bullets for coyotes and varmints, or switch to 100 grain soft points for whitetails. Just as importantly, Winchester used a faster 1 in 10 twist barrel capable of stabilizing those heavier bullets. Hunters responded immediately. The 243 Winchester exploded in popularity while the 244 Remington steadily faded away. By 1963, Remington essentially admitted defeat, renaming it the 6mm Remington, tightening the twist to 1 in 9, and finally introducing 100 grain factory loads. Unfortunately, the damage had already been done. From a handloader's perspective, the 6mm Remington may still have a slight ballistic advantage, especially in long-action rifles. But commercial success isn't determined solely by numbers. Perception matters, and Winchester won that battle. For nearly 70 years, the 243 Winchester has remained the dominant 6mm cartridge, trusted everywhere from the brush country of Texas to the Scottish Highlands. Other challengers, including the 240 Weatherby Magnum and the short-lived 243 WSSM, never came close to matching its widespread adoption. Now let's look at the performance that built the cartridge's reputation. Traditional factory loads usually feature 80 grain bullets traveling around 3,350 feet per second or 100 grain soft points, leaving the muzzle at roughly 2,960 feet per second. Today's ammunition has expanded those options considerably. Bullet weights now range from lightweight 55 grain projectiles all the way to 105 grains, making the cartridge suitable for everything from prairie dogs to pronghorn antelope. The basic rule is straightforward. Bullets under 90 grains are primarily intended for varmints, delivering rapid fragmentation. Bullets weighing 90 grains or more are designed for deer-sized game with controlled expansion and deeper penetration. Accuracy has always been one of the cartridge's strongest selling points. Varmint shooters have long appreciated Winchester's 55-grain ballistic silver tip, advertised at 3,910 feet per second. In 26-inch barrels, velocities exceeding 4,000 feet per second aren't unheard of, producing devastating performance on small targets. Hunters pursuing predators at longer distances often favor 80-grain loads because they resist wind drift better than typical 22 caliber centerfire cartridges. Still, the 243 truly earned its reputation as a deer rifle. It's accurate, comfortable to shoot, and unintimidating for beginners. That's exactly why millions of hunters have started their shooting journey behind one. It's the kind of rifle that builds confidence without punishing the shooter. As capable as the 243 Winchester is, it isn't without weaknesses. Inside normal hunting distances, around 200 yards, it performs exceptionally well. But increase the range or put it against a large-bodied buck, and its limitations become more noticeable. Energy drops off relatively quickly, leaving less room for error. Perfectly placed double-lung shots remain highly effective, but poor shot angles or even modest wind drift become less forgiving than with cartridges like the 7mm 08 or the 308 Winchester. Another drawback is barrel life. The 243 has earned a reputation as an overbore cartridge. It forces an enormous amount of extremely hot gas through a relatively small 6mm bore, accelerating throat erosion. Extended range sessions, competition shooting, or long days in prairie dog towns can wear barrels surprisingly quickly. Some rifles begin losing peak accuracy after only 500 rounds. For the average hunter who fires a single box of ammunition each year to confirm zero before deer season, this isn't a serious concern. But for shooters who train frequently or spend significant time shooting at long range, shortened barrel life becomes a genuine financial and logistical consideration. When you combine reduced terminal energy at extended distances with accelerated throat erosion, the cartridge's weaknesses become much easier to recognize. The 243 Winchester has never been a perfect cartridge, and it doesn't need to be. Its greatest strength comes from understanding exactly where it excels and recognizing where it doesn't. Stay within its intended role, and it's one of the most accurate, comfortable, and versatile hunting cartridges ever developed. Push it beyond those limits with 500-yard elk shots or extended high-volume shooting, and you're asking it to do something it wasn't built to accomplish. The results can be disappointing and sometimes heartbreaking. Knowing where that line exists is what separates successful hunters from those who spend the drive home thinking about the animal that slipped away.